So welcome to the node.js Node API team meeting for April 28th, 2023. Before we get going, does anybody have any news they'd like to share? Okay, if no news this week, I will move over to Milestone. I'll share my screen with the milestone list, and we can go through there. So the first one is drive towards full coverage. I know, Jack, you've been leading that. Anything we should discuss this week?
Not in particular, but yeah, I think we're one ticket away from at least full coverage. So.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, is that one that's there and just needs to be reviewed, or is one you're working on? Or
oh no, I'll be working on that. Hopefully I'll get it done by next week.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, add list of C language bindings. So I think we talked a little bit about that last time. Nicola, I assume you're still working on that because it was going to be a bit of a longer effort, right?
Yeah, and I this week I only found other materials that I need to study, and my purpose is to start writing for the next week. Something that I will push on the issue, and then maybe and then I will open the paragraphs on the node core repo.
Okay.
I don't know if maybe maybe I can share some Google Doc document with you, and then you could give a first review, just to see if the material is good, and then I will open the paragraphs.
Sure. I'm sure I'm happy to do that, and I suspect everybody else will be too. So if you want some early input, that sounds good.
Yeah, I think that shared Google Doc is to have the first review is better than the issue. So yeah, I will share the doc with all of you, and anyone want help, yeah, could be good for me.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, the next one, I haven't looked at enabling the debug testing, so let's flip into stale issues. I don't see any new ones. We have a couple which are blocked on the new feature bit side of things, so maybe we'll talk about that. I don't know if you want to, maybe Vladimir, you want to just update us on that one?
So I was like in the beginning of the week, I was ready and even sent request to you guys, like have a final review. And it was interesting, like one of the developers, I think from EM and API, they jumped in and said like, oh, by the way, symbol used to be weak and now you're not becoming weak. I kind of wrote this long explanation and said, I go into research. And to my surprise, what I found, effectively it says like a symbol, it depends. So depending on how symbol is created, is it local symbol versus global symbol, it can be weak reference or not. So for example, local symbol can be a weak reference and global symbol cannot. Global symbol is created like symbol.4. It can be weak referenced because it's never garbage collected, because it's once it's created, it's there forever. But local one, it can be weak reference. And apparently in my test, I only use global one. That's why I didn't see that it can be weak referenced. So I almost done to update to my PR to differentiate between local and global symbol for weak reference. So thankfully it's I'm gonna send it in the next minute to yeah, so enough of that. I would definitely appreciate kind of final scoop. Unfortunately, detecting this local versus global against a bit hairy. There are a lot of interesting internal implementations inside of V8, but they're not in public V8 API, and I was not adventurous enough to expose this private one. So instead, I'm using documented way to differentiate between them. Documentation says symbol.key for local one supposed to return undefined, and for global one we return some value. So basically, I'm using this method to differentiate between them.
Okay. Interesting. It's definitely been a lot of interesting things to work through on that one for sure.
It was like one with wow effect, like a really ready.
Right. Okay. Sounds good.
But I'm glad that we at least we can approach and to be right. The whole thing's supposed to be as we planned. And effectively, biggest difference. I remember in the past we used to have then we created a weak reference for like primitive types. It was actually keeping them, but we decided inside of our meetings that said like if this primitive type, not weak reference, not supposed to be there, we effectively cleaning up this reference. It actually this is a thing which complicates this thing a bit.
Right. So if you go to 0, the reference itself can go away, just like it would for an object. Like if it's at 0, then the reference can be collected and right.
One thought comes to mind. So V8 may distinguish between global and local symbols and may treat one as weakable and the other as not. But what about other engines? You know, if we introduce behavior which cannot be implemented in another engine, then you know that's going to make it very difficult to adopt. Like I think JavaScript doesn't have the concept of weak symbol or weak anything, right? So I don't know how we're going to do that. Is that not a problem? Just curious.
So I think like a current approach, we simply said if this specific type can be weakly held, this can be weakly held, then we goes to 0, it becomes weak reference. If it can't be weakly held, it becomes null. And JavaScript today, then we're going to ref count to 0, it's becoming null. So technically, from JavaScript point of view, nothing should be changed. We effectively, whatever we change right now for V8, it will actually just clean up this whole semantic and
Yeah. You're right. I forget. The important thing is that when it can no longer be seen from JavaScript for whatever reason, it should eventually be deleted, right? In most cases, and on JavaScript, it is immediately deleted. In V8 for things that are weakable, it will be, well, sometimes deleted when the garbage collector decides. But either way, it should always be deleted sooner or later, right? Because it can no longer be used, so it's dead data basically. Yeah.
Our API will just say it will, but it's silent on it could happen anytime after it
exactly
hits 0, right?
Yeah. Thanks.
Just weak reference kind of prolongs this deletion, if you like, a bit. But if engine does not support it, it can delete it immediately.
Right. Your code cannot count on it still being there. If it is there, you're lucky. If it's not there, then you better still be able to handle that.
And the problem was before that these shared, not shared, but global symbols will be kind of always held by our NAPI-ref, even at 0. So technically, in some sense, we clean up with semantic.
Yeah, it's actually an improvement, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And sorry, it takes like it's so many unpredictable things coming in.
Yeah. No, this was I was just trying to say it's a really interesting one. Like it's raised a lot of issues to think through and work through, and it's good from that perspective. If you're not worried about getting it landed immediately.
I think references are the wildest roller coaster in Node API, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, most complicated part that I found when I start to learn Node API.
For sure.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Okay. The next one is the good next step would be add examples and Node on examples. I think Gabriel, you were looking at some of these. I don't know if you're.
Yeah, okay.
on
So yeah, I haven't had a chance to continue the thread safe function example. But one thing that Vladimir pointed out last week, I think it's kind of taking priority in my head right now, which is that we should not pass a null environment to thread safe functions JavaScript callback, even if it's not possible to call into JavaScript anymore, because there are, like Vladimir pointed out, the instance data should still be retrievable. And so I'm kind of gearing up to make a PR where look at Kevin. I'm gearing up to make a PR that will pass a non-null environment in, but it will keep the JavaScript callback as null, because obviously it's completely useless if you're cleaning up. So people can still distinguish. And I think having the environment be non-null is not a breaking change, because it has always been null so far. So people have null checks against it. And the JavaScript callback, they were kind of tied together. Either neither was null or both were null. So that shouldn't break anybody if the environment is not null, even as long as the JavaScript callback stays null. I think that needs a PR, and we need to change the documentation to say, yes, you can call Node API, but not the ones that would use an API value or anything like that, only a select few.
That can make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely.
Okay. That one, I think this was another one related to an additional sample. So I think that takes us to the end of those. Documenting how to check for memory leaks. I don't know, Kevin, if you've had a chance to look at that. We did discuss a little bit either last time or the time before.
Yes, I created a PR on Node main, and linked it in this thread at the
Okay.
bottom.
Perfect. Okay.
And it was basically adding how to create the suppression file from the document that I originally created.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a good addition. So I'll take a look, put that on my list of things to go look at and get help move forward. Okay, that will close that one out. So then we already talked about what was new, improving on the scorecard. I haven't had time to go back and look at the failures, so I don't have any update on that. I still plan to do that. So we can go down into issues. In this case, in terms of pull requests. This one, I don't know if anybody's looked at any of these. It's worth discussing.
Haven't looked yet, but it sounds interesting.
Okay. So yeah, we can take a look. That is interesting, and it's related to, like, he's been working on a Node Canvas port. So that's a fairly large usage module. So definitely worth looking at. This one you opened, right?
Yeah, this was part of that object wrap
Right.
thread safe function thing. Yeah, it's interesting because yes, it needs to land, but as soon as we have where did I say that? Yeah, so here, yeah, so for an API create reference, it's gonna always return. Okay, so this code will mostly not be used, but for now it needs to land.
Yeah, seems, it looks like it's ready to land. If anybody
Yeah,
wants.
yeah. I was planning on running the Jenkins CI jobs for the various LTS versions and then landing it.
Sounds good. That does remind me, have we, let me just pull that up. Yeah, I'm just trying to remember. If we've updated those for the changes in 20 and stuff.
Yes, I think 20 was there even last time I ran it. So it's in that drop down.
Okay. So we got it may be in the drop down, but I think like I can see the tests that were run were main 14, 16, 18, and 19. So it may still need a tweak, like the higher level one may need a tweak to do the right thing.
Oh, I always just use like what is it? Node test, node add-on API new or something like that. And
Right,
I just do
yeah.
individual jobs.
There's just a top level one which runs daily, which is like all the
Oh,
TS ones. So that's the one
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
I probably need to modify to say. And let me
Yeah.
just see where, yeah, I need to. Anyway, I'll write myself a note to go back and look at the CI. Okay. Okay, no, that's great. Right, apply security, that one we already talked about, and then this one was still a draft, right? So I don't know if there's anything to discuss on that one.
No, not yet. I'll have to continue that.
Okay. That one's fairly old. There's a new question here. So I guess again, we just need to take some time to take a look. Anything else particular on the node add-on API people wanted to discuss, talk about this week? Going, sort of gone. I will look here. Label. I don't know if I can type. Okay, and I'm gonna like. A release checklist. It's a good idea. Can put that somewhere in contributing or maintaining. I think we might have a maintaining guide, so it would probably be good to put that in there. Like if we look over at no doc contributing. We have this like adding new node API. Yeah, I don't know if we expand that or add something new, which is like, you know, maintaining. We've got these things which are like maintaining NPM, OpenSSL. We could have like maintaining node, and we could have put that somewhere.
Yeah,
in
I think
here,
so,
I think is a
yeah.
good place for that
Yep.
checklist that you talk about. So
Yep. That's what I was thinking too. Just didn't get around to getting started with it.
yeah, no, it's a great idea. Let me see if okay, right. And I don't see anything else new. Are there any other ones that we should chat about? Any other topics that people have before we close out for today?
No, nothing here.
Okay,
Probably
well, if not,
sorry, can I ask a simple question? I just, if you guys have this experience, if I want to add additional API, public API to V8, did someone already went through such process before?
I haven't done that. Like I'm just trying to think like on the team I'm on, we have a couple people who regularly keep V8 going on power. So I'm sure we've added a few things, but yeah, I don't have the immediate and recent enough experience to help. There's a process to like submit I'm not sure it's quite as easy. It's not as easy as submitting a PR through GitHub or anything like that. At least it wasn't in the past, but
okay, so there's some kind of special process we typically need to follow if we want to do something like this.
go ahead.
We have a like an @v8js mentionable group, don't we, on Node Core, and that pings all the right people. So maybe you can ping them on your PR, or maybe let's just open an issue And then, those people will be able to tell you how to promote that issue to V8. So just open a node core issue, ping those people. I think it's like at V8.js, but I'm not 100% sure. I've seen the reference in issues before, and that brings in people from V8.
Okay.
That's a good
yeah.
idea. I think I'd also reach out directly to Chenzong because I have this feeling that he's made some PRs to V8 more recently. So like he might be able to give you like, hey, here's what I had to do. And, I think it's well documented, but possibly not as familiar as a regular PR. So he might be able to give you a head start. That's what I would do. Like reach out to him through email and say, hey, I want to do a V8 PR. Michael thought maybe you've done one recently. Can you, any guidance or something like that?
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, if not, well, thanks for everybody's time and great seeing everybody, and we will see